The hidden door slammed shut behind them, sealing out the noise of battle, but the shaking of the palace did not stop. Dust fell from the ceiling and the walls trembled as if the entire kingdom was breaking apart. Arya's heart was still racing, but now it was not just fear, it was confusion, anger, and too many questions at once. Kale pulled her down a narrow spiral staircase lit only by faint red crystals embedded in the walls, their glow making his eyes look darker and more dangerous than before. She could still feel his hand wrapped around hers despite everything, warm and steady in the chaos, but she suddenly pulled it away. "Stop!" He stopped instantly and turned to face her. "You said I was never sent to kill you. Then what am I?" Her voice was sharp now, no longer afraid. He studied her face as if searching for something hidden beneath her skin. "You are the last mistake the council made," he said quietly. Another explosion echoed above them, and the palace groaned like it was alive. "What does that mean?" she demanded. Kale exhaled slowly and said, "Years ago, before you were born, the council discovered something ancient, a bloodline that should not have existed, a union between human and vampire that created something different." Her stomach dropped. "That's impossible." "It was forbidden," he corrected, "and they tried to erase it." The words felt unreal and her mind raced back to her childhood, to her mother, to the way villagers whispered and the way soldiers once searched their home when she was little, something she had never understood. "My mother," her voice softened, "was not only a healer," Kale finished. "She carried royal vampire blood." The world tilted around her. "No, yes. That means you are not fully human." Silence swallowed the staircase. Another violent tremor shook the ground and part of the ceiling cracked, forcing them to move again as Kale grabbed her arm and pulled her deeper underground until they reached a massive stone chamber hidden beneath the palace. Ancient symbols covered the walls and a circular platform stood in the center carved with markings glowing faintly red. Arya stared at it and whispered, "What is this?" "The original throne," Kale said, "before the council took control. You're the king." He gave a bitter smile. "Title not in power." That was when she understood that the council had never feared Kale losing control, they feared him gaining it back. Footsteps thundered above them as the council searched the lower levels. "You said there was a prophecy," she whispered. Kale stepped toward the platform and said, "It says when the blood moon returns and the hidden bloodline awakens, the throne will answer only to the one born of both worlds." Her pulse quickened. "Both worlds." He looked at her. "Human and vampire." Before she could respond, the chamber doors exploded inward. Stone shattered and smoke filled the room as the council leader stepped through calmly, smiling with soldiers behind him armed with sunsteel blades and arrows. "I was hoping you would bring her here," the council leader said. "Saves us the trouble." Kale moved in front of Arya again as shadows began to rise around him like living armor. "You will not touch her." The council leader laughed softly. "You still don't understand, Your Majesty. We never planned to kill her immediately." His eyes shifted to Arya. "We planned to use her." "For what?" she demanded. "To control the throne." The soldiers advanced and Kale's shadows lunged first, slamming two soldiers into the walls while Arya grabbed a fallen blade and joined the fight without hesitation, no longer fighting as an assassin but as someone defending her own truth. Steel clashed, shadows roared, and screams echoed through the chamber while the council leader remained still, watching and waiting. Finally he stepped forward and drew a blade unlike the others, glowing brighter than sunsteel, almost white. "That can kill me," Kale muttered. The council leader moved with deadly precision and struck Kale across the chest, the glowing blade burning through flesh and forcing him to stagger for the first time. "No!" Arya shouted as something inside her snapped and heat surged through her veins. Not normal heat but power, as the symbols on the platform began glowing brighter in response to her presence. The council leader noticed and smiled. "Yes," he whispered, "awaken." Pain exploded through her body, her vision turned red, and she heard a heartbeat that was not hers, fast and ancient, calling to her. Kale fell to one knee, blood dark against the stone. "Arya, don't let them control you." The soldiers rushed her but never reached her as a shockwave burst from her body, throwing everyone backward while the glowing symbols beneath her feet ignited fully, and the red crystals in the walls shattered from the force. Her eyes burned the same deep crimson as Kale's but brighter and stronger. The council leader's smile faded as she felt everything, The palace, the shadows, the blood in every soldier's veins, the throne responding to her like it had been waiting centuries. "You wanted to use me," she said, her voice layered with something inhuman. "You wanted a weapon, you made one." The remaining soldiers tried to run, but the shadows obeyed her now, wrapping around them and pinning them to the walls. The council leader attacked again desperately, swinging the glowing blade toward her heart, but she caught it with her bare hand and the blade cracked. His eyes widened in horror. "Impossible. You were wrong," she said quietly. "The prophecy was never about standing beside the king." She looked at Kale, who watched her with awe instead of fear. It was about ending the throne. With one swift movement she drove the broken blade into the council leader's chest, and the white glow faded instantly as his body turned to ash before hitting the ground. Silence fell and the remaining soldiers surrendered. The power inside her began to calm but did not disappear. It settled like it belonged there. She walked to Kale and knelt beside him as his wound slowly healed. "You lied to me," she said softly. "Yes," he admitted. "You knew I could take the throne. Yes. And you brought me here anyway." He held her gaze and said, "Because the kingdom deserves freedom, even if it costs me my crown." The weight of that truth settled between them as the sounds of battle above began fading, and without the council leader the soldiers had no command. Arya stood and looked at the ancient platform. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you choose," Kale replied. She looked at him, at the throne, at the broken chamber, and after years of being used, trained, controlled, and lied to, she stepped onto the platform one last time. The symbols glowed softly, waiting. "I don't want a throne," she said, and the symbols flickered. "I don't want a crown." The glow dimmed further. "I want this kingdom free from fear." The platform cracked beneath her feet, and the ancient magic binding the throne to bloodlines shattered like glass as a wave of energy rushed through the palace and into the city. The black banners dissolved into ash, and the mark of the council vanished from every wall. The throne was no longer bound to prophecy or blood. The magic was broken. Arya stepped down from the ruined platform as the red glow in her eyes faded and she felt lighter. Kale stared in shock. "You destroyed centuries of rule." She looked at him calmly. "No more kings chosen by blood." He was silent before slowly smiling, not like a ruler or a monster, but like a man finally free. "And what does that make me?" he asked. She stepped closer. "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you want to rule or live." For the first time, Kale laughed softly as dawn touched the sky and the blood moon faded. The palace doors opened to a city no longer ruled by fear, where humans and vampires stood together, confused but alive. The war ended not with a crown changing heads, but with the crown destroyed entirely. Arya walked beside Kale, not behind him, not as his assassin or prophecy, but as his equal. The rebels stared in disbelief and soldiers lowered their weapons. The vampire king was no longer a king, and the girl sent to kill him had not taken his throne, she had ended it. As the sun rose fully, Kale looked at her and asked quietly, "So what happens to us now?" Arya met his gaze steadily and said, "Now we build something new." And under the first true sunrise the kingdom had seen in centuries, the age of fear ended not with blood but with choice. The assassin and the vampire king were once enemies, but in the end they chose each other.